In the year 2675, Earth was a shadow of what it once had been. The blue skies were gone, replaced by thick gray clouds that blocked out the sun. Rivers ran dry, forests turned to dust, and cities crumbled under years of neglect. Billions of people lived in fear, struggling just to find food and clean water. It wasn't just pollution or overpopulation that was killing the planet. It was something far worse. A mysterious black hole-like force, known as the Void, was swallowing everything in its path. Whole star systems disappeared one after another, leaving behind only emptiness. And now the Void was heading straight for Earth. A desperate plan. Humanity had tried everything to stop the Void: weapons, experiments, even prayers, but nothing worked. Scientists didn't fully understand what the Void was. Some said it was a natural phenomenon like a storm in space. Others believed it was alive, feeding on planets and stars until there was nothing left. Whatever it was, it couldn't be stopped. All anyone knew for sure was that Earth had less than a year before the Void reached them. That's when Dr. Lila Navarro came up with an idea. She was one of the smartest scientists alive, but she was also haunted by guilt. For years, she'd warned world leaders about the dangers of ignoring Earth's problems. No one listened. Now, as humanity faced extinction, she felt responsible. But instead of giving up, she decided to take one last shot at saving the human race. "We've spent centuries looking outward," Lila told President Mara Voss during an emergency meeting. "Maybe it's time we ask for help from someone smarter than us." Her plan was simple yet daring: send a message into space, calling for aid from any advanced civilizations out there. They would broadcast Earth's story, their history, culture, science, and struggles, hoping that someone somewhere might hear and care enough to help. Lila called it the Echo Protocol. It was humanity's final plea for survival. President Voss agreed. "If this doesn't work," she said grimly, "then we're truly alone." The broadcast building the Echo Protocol wasn't easy. Resources were scarce and time was running out. Engineers worked around the clock, using every satellite and transmitter they could find to send the message across the galaxy. The signal included pictures, sounds, and data, everything they thought aliens might need to understand who humans were. At the end of the transmission, they added a single sentence: "If anyone hears this, please help us." When the first wave of signals went out, millions of people gathered outside to watch. Giant screens displayed maps of the galaxy, showing where the messages were traveling. For the first time in years, there was hope in the air. People hugged their families, prayed, and whispered wishes to the stars. Maybe, just maybe, someone would answer. But as days turned into weeks, the silence grew louder. Falling apart at first, everyone waited patiently. Governments told people to stay calm, saying it could take months for a reply to reach them. But patience quickly turned to frustration, and then anger. With no sign of alien life responding, old divisions resurfaced. Countries argued over resources. Cities erupted in riots as desperate mobs fought for food and shelter. Some groups even sabotaged evacuation efforts, believing only the rich deserved to survive. Dr. Navarro watched it all unfold with a heavy heart. She spent long nights staring at the stars through her telescope, wondering if she'd made a mistake. "What if I was wrong?" she muttered to herself one evening. "What if there's no one out there?" Captain Elias Kane shared her doubts, though he kept them hidden. As the military leader overseeing Earth's last defenses, he had to stay strong for his team. But inside, he was breaking. Every day brought more bad news: failed experiments, collapsing shelters, and rising tensions among survivors. He hated feeling powerless, but there was nothing he could do to stop the Void, or humanity's descent into chaos. Even Aurora, the AI designed to monitor incoming signals, seemed affected. Its calm voice carried a hint of sadness as it reported. Daily updates. No responses detected. Void approaching at accelerated speed. A glimmer of hope. Just when things seemed darkest, something unexpected happened. Aurora picked up faint signals coming from deep space. They weren't replies to the Echo Protocol, but they were unusual enough to grab everyone's attention. There are patterns here, Lila said excitedly, studying the data. These aren't random bursts. They're organized like someone's trying to communicate. President Voss ordered a team to investigate. Captain Kane led the mission, taking a small crew aboard a spaceship to explore the source of the signals. After days of travel, they arrived at an abandoned orbital station filled with strange artifacts. The objects looked ancient, covered in symbols no one recognized. Though they didn't seem dangerous, they gave off a strange energy that made the crew uneasy. "This changes nothing," Kane said bitterly as they loaded the artifacts onto their ship. "They're just pieces of junk. We're still on our own." Back on Earth, Lila and her team studied the artifacts closely. While they didn't provide immediate answers, they inspired new ideas. The designs hinted at advanced technology, shields, engines, and materials stronger than anything humans had ever created. If they could replicate even a fraction of it, they might stand a chance against the void. Facing reality, despite the discovery, the mood on Earth remained grim. The void was getting closer, swallowing entire planets in its wake. Aurora calculated that Earth had less than 6 months left. Panic spread as people realized time was running out. President Voss addressed the world in a televised speech. Standing in front of a map showing the void's progress, she spoke with quiet determination. "We don't know if help is coming. Maybe no one heard us. Maybe no one cares. But one thing is certain. We cannot give up. If salvation comes, it must come from within." Her words struck a chord. Slowly, people began to rally together. Scientists worked harder. Engineers built faster. Families supported each other, sharing what little they had. Even those who had lost faith found strength in unity. Dr. Navarro summed it up best during a late-night conversation with Captain Kane. "We called to the stars because we hoped someone else would fix our problems. But maybe the real answer has been here all along. Us." Kane nodded, though his expression remained grim. "Let's hope you're right, Doctor. Because if not, we're finished." The days turned into weeks, and the weeks dragged into months. The Echo Protocol had sent its message across the galaxy, but the silence that followed was deafening. No alien ships appeared in the skies. No mysterious signals responded to humanity's desperate plea. Just emptiness, a vast, cold void of nothingness stretching endlessly through space. For many, hope began to fade. The people of Earth had gambled everything on the idea that someone out there might care enough to help. But as time passed, it became painfully clear. No one was coming. Falling apart. With no sign of aid, humanity started to crumble under the weight of its own despair. Governments argued over what to do next. Some leaders wanted to focus on building huge spaceships, called generation ships, that could carry survivors to distant planets. Others insisted on staying on Earth, using experimental technology to create underground sanctuaries shielded from the void's destruction. But resources were running out, and tempers flared. Food riots broke out in cities around the world. People stormed warehouses, stealing whatever they could find. In some places, armed gangs took control, hoarding supplies for themselves while leaving others to starve. Families huddled together in makeshift shelters, praying for a miracle that never came. Dr. Lila Navarro watched it all unfold with growing frustration. She had poured her heart into the Echo Protocol, believing it would bring salvation. Now she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd failed everyone. "We spent so much time looking outward," she muttered to herself one night, staring at the stars through her telescope. "Maybe we should have fixed ourselves first." Captain Elias Kane shared her despair, though he tried not to show it. As the military leader tasked with keeping order, he faced impossible choices every day. Should he prioritize evacuating scientists and engineers who could help build the generation ships? Or should he save ordinary families, giving them a chance to start over somewhere new? One evening, after breaking up yet another riot, Kane sat alone in his quarters staring at a photo of his late wife and son. They had died years earlier during an asteroid impact, one of the early signs of Earth's collapse. He clenched his fists, anger bubbling inside him. "Why does it always have to be sacrifice?" he whispered bitterly. "Why can't we just Win for once. Even Aurora, the AI monitoring Earth's communications, seemed affected by the mounting tension. Its calm voice carried a hint of sadness as it reported daily updates. No responses detected. Void accelerating toward Earth. Estimated time until impact: 5 months. A dangerous mission. Amidst the chaos, Captain Kane received orders to lead a risky mission. A derelict orbital station had been discovered near Jupiter, containing strange artifacts believed to belong to an ancient alien civilization. Scientists hoped these relics might hold clues, or even technology, that could help humanity survive. Kane assembled a small crew for the journey, including Dr. Navarro, who insisted on joining despite her lack of combat training. "If this is our last shot," she said firmly, "I need to see it with my own eyes." The trip to the orbital station was perilous. The Void's gravitational pull disrupted their navigation systems, forcing the crew to rely on manual controls. Strange energy surges knocked out power several times, leaving them drifting in darkness. When they finally arrived, the station loomed before them like a ghostly tomb, dark, silent, and filled with unknown dangers. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the walls were covered in alien symbols glowing faintly in the dim light. The artifacts were scattered throughout the station, each one pulsing with a faint energy that made the crew uneasy. One object looked like a sphere etched with intricate patterns. Another resembled a jagged shard of crystal, humming softly when touched. "This isn't random junk," Dr. Navarro said, examining the sphere closely. "These designs are deliberate. Someone, or something, put them here for a reason." As the team gathered the artifacts, they stumbled upon something unexpected: a holographic recording left behind by the station's creators. The image flickered to life, showing humanoid figures speaking in a language no one understood. Their expressions were solemn, almost mournful, as if warning future visitors about something catastrophic. "They're trying to tell us something," Kane said, his voice low. "But what?" Before anyone could figure it out, the station began to collapse. The Void's influence had weakened its structural integrity, causing walls to crumble and debris to rain down. The crew barely escaped, loading the artifacts onto their ship just as the station disintegrated behind them. Breakthroughs and doubts back on Earth, scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the artifacts. At first, progress was slow. The materials were unlike anything they'd ever encountered, resistant to scans and testing. But eventually, Dr. Navarro noticed something remarkable. The patterns on the sphere matched equations used in quantum physics. By studying them, her team developed blueprints for advanced energy shields and engines far beyond human capabilities. "These could save us," she told President Voss during a briefing. "If we can replicate this technology, we might stand a chance against the Void." But not everyone was convinced. Critics argued that focusing on alien tech was a waste of time. "We don't even know if this stuff will work," one official snapped. Meanwhile, millions are starving and the Void is getting closer every day. Tensions boiled over during a heated meeting between world leaders. Some demanded immediate funding for the generation ships, while others pushed for completing the underground sanctuaries. Accusations flew, voices rose, and chairs were thrown. By the end of the session, no consensus had been reached. President Voss stepped in, her tone firm but weary. "Arguing won't save us. If we want to survive, we need to work together. That means combining resources, sharing ideas, and trusting each other, even when it's hard." Her words quieted the room, but the underlying divisions remained. Humanity's greatest challenge wasn't just the Void. It was itself. A grim discovery. As construction efforts continued, Aurora detected something alarming. The Void wasn't just expanding, it was changing. Near Jupiter, a fragment of the phenomenon had broken off and was moving directly toward Earth. Unlike the main body of the Void, this fragment pulsed with strange energies, almost as if it were alive. "What is it?" Kane asked, staring at the data Aurora displayed. "It appears to be semi-sentient," Aurora replied. "It has absorbed fragments of the Echo protocol transmission. It knows we exist." The news sent shockwaves through the Leadership Council. Was the fragment coming to destroy them? Or was it responding to their call for help? When the fragment finally arrived, it hovered above Earth's atmosphere, casting an eerie shadow over the planet. Then, without warning, it broadcast a single message. In English, "You called and we listened. Hope or despair?" The message stunned everyone. For months, humanity had believed they were utterly alone. Now the void, or part of it, had acknowledged them. But instead of relief, fear gripped the hearts of many. What did it mean? Had their plea for help been answered, or twisted into something sinister? Dr. Navarro refused to give up hope. "This is proof that we're not alone," she said passionately. "Whatever this thing is, it hurt us. That means there's still a chance." Captain Kane wasn't so sure. "Or maybe it's mocking us," he muttered darkly. "Either way, we're running out of time." As the fragment lingered in orbit, scientists scrambled to decode its intentions. Meanwhile, ordinary people looked up at the sky, torn between awe and terror. Would the void save them or consume them completely? Only time would tell. Quen 2.5 Max 720, M Part 3, Turning Inward. The fragment of the void hovered above Earth, its presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. It pulsed with an eerie energy, casting strange shadows across the planet. Its message, "You called and we listened," lingered in everyone's mind, sparking a mix of hope and dread. Was this humanity's salvation, or the beginning of the end? Decoding the fragment, scientists worked around the clock to understand the fragment's intentions. Dr. Lila Navarro led the effort, poring over every scrap of data Aurora could gather. The AI monitored the fragment constantly, analyzing its energy, patterns, and behavior. "What is it doing?" President Voss asked during a tense meeting. She stood at the head of the table, her hands gripping the edge as she stared at the holographic display of the fragment. "It's observing us," Dr. Navarro replied hesitantly. "Its movements suggest curiosity, not hostility, but that doesn't mean it's friendly." Captain Elias Kane frowned. "Curiosity won't save us. We need answers, and fast." Aurora chimed in, its calm voice cutting through the tension. "Analysis suggests the fragment may be attempting to communicate further. However, its methods are beyond current human comprehension." Despite the uncertainty, one thing was clear. The fragment wasn't leaving anytime soon. Humanity had no choice but to interact with it, or risk being consumed by it entirely. A grim ultimatum. After days of observation, the fragment delivered another message. This time, it came not as words, but as images projected into the minds of those nearby. People saw visions of stars collapsing, planets dissolving, and civilizations vanishing, all swallowed by the void. Then came the ultimatum. "You stand at the edge of oblivion. Merge with us, and your essence will endure. Resist, and you will perish." The message sent shockwaves through Earth. Some interpreted it as an offer of salvation, a chance for humanity to transcend its physical form and join the void's collective existence. Others saw it as a death sentence disguised as mercy. President Voss convened an emergency council to discuss the implications. "If we merge with the void, what happens to us?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Do we lose our humanity? Our individuality?" Dr. Navarro hesitated before responding. "It's impossible to say for sure, but based on the fragment's behavior, merging might mean becoming part of something greater, an entity that exists outside time and space. Whether that's life or death, I don't know." Captain Kane slammed his fist on the table. "This isn't salvation, it's surrender. If we give up who we are, then we've already lost." The debate raged on, dividing leaders and citizens alike. Protests erupted in cities around the world, with people shouting slogans like, "Stay human," and "No to the void." Meanwhile, others argued that merging was the only way to preserve humanity's legacy, even if it meant sacrificing their physical bodies. Choosing humanity. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Navarro found herself torn. Part of her wanted to believe the fragment, offered a way forward, a chance to escape the inevitable destruction of Earth. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's true strength lay not in survival alone, but in resilience, in creativity, in connection. She voiced her thoughts during a heated discussion with Captain Kane. What makes us human isn't just our ability to adapt. It's our drive to explore, to create, to care for each other. If we merge with the void, we lose all of that. We become like ghosts. Kane nodded grimly. Exactly. And ghosts can't rebuild. They can't dream. Inspired by their conversation, Navarro approached President Voss with a bold proposal. Instead of accepting the fragment's ultimatum, humanity should focus on Project Rebirth, a plan to construct underground sanctuaries shielded from the void's effects. While not a permanent solution, it would buy time for future generations to find a way to defeat the void or escape it entirely. Voss listened intently, her expression shifting from skepticism to determination. If we choose this path, we'll need everyone working together, no more divisions, no more selfishness. Can we do that? Navarro met her gaze squarely. We have to. Because if we don't, then nothing else matters. Uniting humanity with President Voss's support, Navarro launched a global campaign to rally humanity behind Project Rebirth. She traveled to cities and settlements, speaking directly to survivors and urging them to put aside their differences. Her message was simple, yet powerful. We called to the stars, hoping someone else would save us. But now we know the truth. Only we can save ourselves. Only humanity can answer its own plea. Her words resonated deeply. Slowly, people began to come together. Engineers shared blueprints. Farmers donated food. Artists painted murals of hope on crumbling walls. Even former rivals set aside their grievances, pooling resources to build the sanctuaries. Meanwhile, advancements inspired by the alien artifacts accelerated progress. Scientists developed energy shields capable of withstanding the void's destructive forces. Construction crews worked tirelessly, digging tunnels and reinforcing structures to house millions of survivors. Though the task seemed impossible, the sense of unity gave people strength they didn't know they had. Captain Kane played a crucial role in maintaining order during this critical period. He led missions to secure materials from abandoned colonies and derelict satellites, often risking his life to ensure the sanctuaries were completed on time. His leadership earned him respect, even admiration, from those who once doubted him. The final countdown as the void drew closer, the pressure mounted. Supplies dwindled and exhaustion spread among workers. Yet despite the challenges, humanity refused to give up. Every completed sanctuary was a victory, a testament to their resilience. One evening, as the first shelters went online, Dr. Navarro stood beside President Voss, watching a live feed of the void's approach. "Do you think it's enough?" Voss asked quietly. Navarro sighed, rubbing her temples. "It has to be. We've done everything we can." Kane joined them moments later, his face grim. "The fragment's moving again. It's heading straight for us." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then Voss straightened, her voice firm. "Whatever happens next, we face it together. As humans. A sacrifice worth making. When the fragment reached Earth, it unleashed a wave of energy that shook the planet to its core. Cities crumbled, oceans boiled, and the sky turned black. But beneath the surface, the sanctuaries held strong. Millions of survivors huddled together, listening to the roar of destruction above. Outside, Captain Kane led a final mission to deploy advanced shielding technology around the sanctuaries. Knowing it would likely cost him his life, he stayed behind to ensure the systems remained operational. As the void consumed everything in its path, Kane transmitted one last message to Aurora. "Take care of them. Make sure they remember. We answered our own plea." Then amidst a blinding flash of light, he vanished. The void had come, and Earth was no longer the vibrant living planet it once was. Above the surface, the world lay in ruins, cities reduced to ash, Oceans evaporated, and skies blackened by the endless hunger of the cosmic force. But beneath the surface, life flickered like a candle in the dark. The underground sanctuaries hummed with activity, their walls lined with glowing energy shields powered by humanity's ingenuity, and the knowledge gleaned from alien artifacts. For those who survived, the question remained, what now? The void hadn't destroyed them completely, but it hadn't left either. It lingered above, a constant reminder of the fragility of existence. Humanity had chosen to remain human, refusing the fragment's offer of merging with the void. Now they had to prove that decision was worth it. Life beneath the surface. Inside the sanctuaries, survivors worked together to rebuild. Each shelter housed thousands of people, organized into tight-knit communities. Engineers maintained the life support systems. Farmers grew crops in hydroponic gardens, and teachers educated children about the world that once was. Artisans painted murals on the walls, depicting Earth's beauty before the void. A reminder of what they were fighting for. Dr. Lila Navarro became a symbol of hope within the sanctuaries. She traveled between them, sharing stories of how humanity had overcome its darkest hour. We didn't give up, she told crowds gathered in, dimly lit halls. When no one else answered our plea, we answered it ourselves. That's what makes us strong. But not everyone shared her optimism. Some survivors questioned whether staying human had been the right choice. Rumors spread about the fragment's offer, whispers that merging might have been a better fate than hiding underground. Others feared the void would eventually breach the sanctuaries, finishing what it started. President Mara Voss addressed these fears during a global broadcast transmitted across all the shelters. Standing in front of a map showing the void's position above Earth, she spoke with quiet determination. Yes, the road ahead is hard. Yes, we've lost much. But giving up isn't an option. We are alive because we chose to fight. Not just for ourselves, but for the future. Her words inspired many, but the challenges remained immense. Resources were limited, and tensions sometimes flared among the survivors. Yet amidst the hardships, small acts of kindness kept spirits alive. A child sharing a piece of bread, a musician playing a song on a makeshift instrument. These moments reminded everyone why they endured. Aurora's final gift as weeks passed. Aurora, the AI that had guided humanity through its darkest days, began to malfunction. Its systems, damaged by the void's energy surge, were failing. Dr. Navarro spent long hours trying to repair it, but the damage was too severe. Why does it matter? Someone asked her during a tense meeting. It's just a machine. It's more than that, Navarro replied firmly. Aurora helped us survive. It listened when no one else did. In its final moments, Aurora delivered a message to humanity. Its holographic avatar flickered weakly as it spoke. You called to the stars seeking aid. Though no alien civilizations answered, you found strength within yourselves. Remember this: survival is not enough. To endure is to create, to dream, to connect. Carry this legacy forward. With those words, Aurora shut down completely, leaving behind silence. But its message echoed in the hearts of those who heard it. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was beginning anew, reaching for the stars. Again, despite the destruction above, humanity refused to abandon its dreams of exploring the cosmos. Scientists and engineers turned their attention to building new spaceships using the advanced technology inspired by the alien artifacts. These ships weren't designed for escape. They were meant to carry humanity's hopes and ambitions beyond. The void Dr. Navarro led the effort, working tirelessly to perfect the designs. We can't stay hidden forever, she told her team. One day we'll venture back into space, not as refugees but as explorers. Construction began in secret chambers deep within the sanctuaries. Workers labored day and night, welding metal, testing engines, and programming navigation systems. The project was risky. Many doubted it could succeed, but it gave people something to believe in. Captain Elias Kane's sacrifice became a rallying cry for the mission. His final act of bravery ensured the sanctuary's survival, and his words echoed in the minds of those building the ships. "We answered our own plea," he had said. Now humanity aimed to answer a greater call, to reclaim the stars. A new dawn years passed, and the void remained above Earth, a silent sentinel watching over the remnants of humanity. But beneath the surface, life flourished. The sanctuaries expanded, connecting with each other through tunnels and communication networks. Children born underground grew up hearing stories of the sky, dreaming of the day they might see it for themselves. Finally, the first spaceship was ready. Named Hope's Echo. It stood tall in a massive underground hangar, its sleek design reflecting humanity's resilience. Thousands gathered to watch as Dr. Navarro addressed the crowd before the launch. "When we called to the stars, no one answered," she said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "But today we answer ourselves. This ship carries not just fuel and supplies. It carries our courage, our creativity, and our refusal to give up. No matter what lies ahead, remember this. Only humanity could have done this. Only humanity answered its own plea." As Hope's Echo launched into the unknown, cheers erupted throughout the sanctuaries. For the first time in decades, people dared to look upward, not with fear, but with hope. Legacy of resilience. Generations later, historians would write about the void and humanity's response to it. They would tell stories of Dr. Navarro's brilliance, Captain Kane's sacrifice, and President Voss's leadership. But most importantly, they would speak of the ordinary people who came together in extraordinary times. Humanity's journey wasn't over. Challenges still lay ahead, both in the sanctuaries and beyond the void. But one truth remained clear. When faced with extinction, humanity had chosen not to fade quietly into the darkness. Instead, it had risen, not because aliens saved them, but because they saved themselves. And so, as Hope's Echo disappeared into the void of space, carrying humanity's dreams with it, Dr. Navarro whispered softly to herself, "We called to the stars, but only humanity answered the plea, and perhaps that's enough."